My wife Maggie and I were sitting in the living room of our friends Damon and Kelly's house. It was a monthly get-together for our group of friends. There were 4 couples in total hanging out without kids. Our circle of friends has always remained the same. The wives had been friends since elementary school, and we, the husbands, also merged into one company. After graduating from college, it took about 3 years for a group of girls to get married and have families, and they were all mothers sitting at home. We all lived within walking distance of each other in a quiet suburb west of Chicago. They called their little company The Club. We were the first couple to get married and the second couple to have children. Damon and Kelly first had 2 children, 5-year-old twins. Mark and Jill had a 3-year-old. We had 2 aged 5 and 4, and Steve and Robin had 1 4-year-old. Strangely, all the children were girls except our son Cody. There was nothing special about any of us. Damon owns a bar club with a decent crowd at DJ nights. Me and Mark are a manager at a grocery store chain, and Steve sells insurance. All the wives were the MILF next door, cute soccer moms in pretty good shape and all pretty cute. But Jill was very hot at an earlier age, and from what I heard from my wife, a little wild. We drank Damon's Johnny Black. The ladies enjoyed their favorite white wine, and the buzz from it hit us all pretty good. We guys were pretty close. Not as tight as the ladies, but we spent time with the guys regularly. This usually took place on the golf course or in the darts league at Damon's bar. So as we sat in pairs talking about our children and their latest activities, Jill changed the subject and said, "I like being a responsible mother, but I miss dancing." The other ladies agreed and began to remember their student adventures. Maggie said, "Why don't we spend tomorrow evening somewhere and go dancing? We can leave the men on duty with the kids and go out and shake the cobwebs off our asses." Damon said, "Why can't we go with you? Who are you going to dance with?" Kelly said, "With those who want. We can relax and shake our asses and won't have husbands or kids to fuss over." "Wait," I said to my wife. "That was the point of these monthly parties, a night away from children. Now, you also want to spend the night away from your husband? Why? I don't need a break from you. Why do you need one from me? So you can go out and pick up some guy at the bar." We've all heard Damon's stories over the years about wild women and lustful guys who were caught in his closet or in the parking lot. We've all heard of confrontations between husbands and wives who do things they shouldn't do on the dance floor. Why do you ladies think we will let you get into situations like this? Paul, the point is not to be pestered, but to go away and not be wives and mothers for a few hours. Maggie said. Damon jumped up and said, "Okay, do it at my club. Drinks at my expense." "Never, so you can spy on us." "To hell with this," Maggie said sharply. "Spy on you? What will you do if this bothers you?" I shouted. At this point, the night turned into arguments and accusations. I wasn't the only one concerned about the motivation for this, and in fact it became clear that they had already talked about it before the party. We were ambushed, and I was angry. "Okay, let's finish this. We need to cool down. It's all gone too far because of a stupid night out," I said. "I agree," Damon said. "We're at Cantigny tomorrow at 6:40 local time, boys." "It's not over yet," Jill said. "We're meeting tomorrow evening, and that's it." Her husband Mark said, "We'll see," and walked out the door. I was glad because he was right behind me in the driveway and I wanted to leave. "Let's go, Mags." "Okay, let's go," she said and left in anger. I shrugged and said goodnight to Damon and the others. All the way home, she sat silently, crossing her arms over her chest, like a capricious child. All she lacked was a pout, and her displeasure rivaled that of my 5-year-old. I couldn't shake my anger at this setup. They planned everything clearly, and even chose the night. I think we all trusted our wives, but on some level we wondered why they felt like they needed a night away from us. It's not that we were married for decades, and our lives were boring. Maggie and I had a lot of adult nights out, and they were easy to organize since our kids' grandparents lived nearby and loved taking the kids along. They even let us spend the night without the children. Did one or more ladies want to deceive? Did they want to flirt and get affection from men other than their husbands on the dance floor? Why would they think we'd be spying if they went to Damon's bar? What were they afraid we would see? When I pulled into the garage, she opened the door and was practically out of the car before I stopped. With the kids at her mother's, I figured I'd get a scolding as soon as the garage door closed. After 3 large glasses of wine at the party, she was relaxed enough to give me a tirade, unlike any before. Why are you acting like a jerk? I had to think quickly and decide how far I wanted to go. I decided to just let her go and let off some steam. Well, what's your problem with me going out with my friends? Do you feel like I belong to you? Do you think I want to do this so I can go and have sex? Answer me. I sighed and calmly said, tell me, why is it so important to go out without your husbands? Why can't you dance with us and shake your asses like you said with your husbands? Why risk being petted or, God forbid, worse, when you can dance with us and do whatever you want there? You heard Damon's warnings about illegal substances and girls being kidnapped on dates. He hears all the warnings and stories from other bar owners and the police. Can't you understand that we're just worried about you? You don't have to worry about anything. All we want to do is let off some steam. Then do it at Damon's bar, where X can keep an eye on you. We'd all feel better if it was there, and you'll save money on fees and drinks. X is Xavier, one of Damon's weekend bouncers. He's 6'5", 300 pounds, and a total wall of don't mess with me. I'll talk to the girls. Maybe we can compromise, she said. Sorry, I don't want to swear. We have the whole house to ourselves, so how about making good use of it? She continued with a sexy purr, taking off her blouse. We take off our outerwear and climb the stairs. By the time she sat on the bed, she was in her underwear, and I was naked. We made love. After lying on the bed, I tasted her sweat and asked, how about a shower? She smiled and said, I never want to move from this place. I was fast asleep when the alarm rang. I slowly walked into the shower to wake up, kissed the sleeping love of my life on the cheek, and went downstairs to get a cup of coffee. The argument from yesterday was still haunting me, and I knew I would be discussing it in detail over the course of 18 holes and a case of beer with the guys. I grabbed a case of Jung beer from the refrigerator in the garage, threw my clubs in the back seat of the SUV, and headed out to the golf course. When I pulled into the parking lot, I saw that the other guys already had carts, so I pulled up next to them. Mark said, Hey, Paul, we're ready for the round and ride. You owe me $20 from last week's skins when I won the last 4 holes, and that's $120 to play this course. I pulled out a $100 bill and handed it to him, saying, I have to hold this. We have not yet seen how much you will lose to me today. Damon Belly laughed as I loaded the cart with my bag and said, Guys, grab some beer. It should be cool enough to keep in your bag without getting too hot. Steve said, Damn it, Paul, $6 apiece won't make it around the bend. The girl with the beer will probably get some of our money today. Here, I brought cigars, and he handed me a pair of good Toro Gordos in a Connecticut wrapper. I never understood his need to smoke good cigars on the golf course. They were probably $8 a pop, so not too crazy, but still seems like a waste because they fall to the ground, get forgotten, or, as happened once, get hit by a ball while in someone's mouth. I dropped the putter after a costly missed putt and nearly took Mark's head off one time. Oh, but then again, we were paying $100+ for golf. People would think it was stupid, too. Fully loaded smoked cigars, open bottles of beer, we headed to site number 1. I was driving with Mark, and while we were driving, he started talking about the party and the ladies' ambush. Dude, I'm worried about the girls going out without us tonight. It's not like them. And to be honest, Jill has been talking a lot about her fun old days lately. Crap. Yeah. She was talking on the phone last week about some fucking sex she was having. She didn't know I was home and could hear her conversation, so she didn't hide anything. I knew she used to have fun, so it wasn't anything she hadn't told me before, but she said she missed that lifestyle, which was news to me. Damn, now she wants to drag our wives with her, I said. I really thought she was over all that crap, and now that I had little Sammy, I didn't think I'd ever have to worry about her being faithful to me. This sucks. She was the one who brought it up last night in their little hangout. It would have been logical for her to lead this, but Maggie was all too willing to fight for it. He nodded, and I saw sadness in his eyes. It didn't make sense to me. Mark dotes on her. She is treated like a queen. She has a new SUV, all the latest home accessories, money in the bank, and a bedroom in the house dedicated to her scrapbooking needs. They have regular date nights. We babysit Sammy for them anytime they need it. So they have plenty of non-child-related activities to do, and she should be happy. Although this may not be the life she wants. Maybe she never wanted to be a mother in the first place. Could the party girl she used to be the real her? I had heard about postpartum depression, but it didn't seem out of my league, and my wife didn't talk about it. I had to think about my wife. Will she cheat on me, or can she cheat on me? Does she know that Jill wants to go back to her old ways? I didn't notice any strange behavior. She never refuses me sex. Sure, we were interrupted a few times by the kids waking up, but that's just being a parent. Does she want to try someone else? Am I not good enough for her? Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe it's just an innocent bachelorette party. Do they have the right to do this? We stopped at the turn before the 10th hole and grabbed some hot dogs. While we were eating, Damon said, "Guys, you understand that something is happening with our wives, don't you?" We all nodded in agreement. They were too hostile last night about this for my comfort level. The fact that they were worried about us knowing what they were doing and refused to go to my bar doesn't make sense to me. It really ruined my mood. I agree, I said. I talked to Maggie about it, and she said they would consider going to your bar as a compromise, but I really don't believe they'll just go there. They have something specific in mind. We just have to find out what it is. How about I ask Rick to follow them if they don't go to my bar? Damon said. Rick was the new bouncer at Damon's bar, whom none of the girls had met. He was as imposing a man as X was. Okay, I like this idea. Would he intervene if the boys went too far? I asked. Dude, I pay him to do whatever we want him to do, Damon said. Okay, let's finish up the golf and then we can come up with a plan, Steve said, lighting another cigar. We finished golfing and sat at Damon's bar, talking to Rick. So this is what we want. Follow our wives wherever they go, stay in the background and watch them. If things start to get out of control, take a video on your phone and text me. Everything you wouldn't want your wife to do. If any of them try to leave with the guy, stop them, Damon said. How to stop them? Asked Rick. Do you want me to exercise with them? No, follow them, write them down. Then stop them and ask whichever lady it is if her husband would approve. At this point, show her that you recorded them leaving together and sent the video. This should stop them from continuing. If she tells you some bullshit about how to give her a ride home, buy her an Uber. What if this asshole starts pestering you? Well, then it's his fault. Rick smiled and said, Of course, boss. I'll take care of it for you. My wife's friend Kara cheated on her husband and got pregnant. Stupid rich bitch had a great boyfriend, and she dumped him at a party like she was lonely. I hate scammers. Guys, why don't you come to my place this evening with the children? They'll enjoy the sleepover, and if anything happens at the club, they're going to. A couple of us can run out and get them without worrying about the kids. Great idea, Damon, I said. We will contact each other after the wives will inform us of our plans. As I walked into the house, Maggie grabbed her keys and flew past me. I'm going to the shop. I'll be back soon. Could you buy me some shaving cream, honey? I asked. She stopped at the door of her car and said, I'm not going to the grocery store. I'm going to the mall with the girls to buy a dress for tonight. Why do you need a new dress for tonight? Who are you trying to impress? Don't be an ass. I just want to look good, like a woman, not like a mother. You are a mother, and you are also a wife. You better not forget about it. I slammed the door and went upstairs to check on the kids. They were going to take a nap, so I took a shower, and then made dinner. Later, they went downstairs, as usual, sat in front of the TV, and watched Frozen 2 for the millionth time. I smiled when I saw them sitting on the floor together. I thought about the great love I had for my family, and it would devastate me if Maggie wanted to cheat on me. Why did she take such a risk? She always seemed happy. We had a lot of conversations about our dreams for the future before we got married. We had a great family. She should have known that if she cheated, we would be finished. I had a fiancé who cheated on me before I met her. In fact, she was the one who pulled me out of a 6-month depression and showed me that I could love and trust again. I would never agree with her cheating, and I would never agree with her helping her friends cheat. Someone needs to be the voice of reason, not the mediator. I expected it to be her. I was playing Candyland with my kids when she walked through the door at 6:00. It was our usual dinner time, but knowing Steve would have pizza, we just grabbed a bite. She brushed past us and up to our bedroom without saying a word. She was clearly avoiding me and our conversation about her date night. It doesn't take nearly 4 hours to buy clothes. Cody shouted, "Mommy, come play with us." She didn't hear him or ignored him. I was afraid it was the latter. "Go call her, buddy," I said, and he ran up the stairs. I didn't hear their conversation, but I heard his bedroom door slam. My daughter Heather said, "Ooh, yeah, baby. Definitely, ooh." I went upstairs to see what was going on and heard my wife talking on the phone. She closed the door to the bedroom, but I understood her part of the conversation well enough. "Okay," she said. "There's no way in hell we can relax at Damon's. I suggest we tell them we're going there, just so they don't fight about it, and then we go to a real party after a few drinks at Damon's. They have a huge hall and all kinds of dance music." After that, she said goodbye and went to the shower. I opened the door to Cody's room and he was crying. "What happened, baby? Mom told me to stop pestering her and leave her alone." I hugged him and said, "Don't worry, son. We'll go to Uncle Steve's and have a sleepover with all your girlfriends. Will Heather be there too?" "Yes, and your sister too. Now cheer up and let's finish our game." He ran downstairs, and everything was as if nothing had happened. Thank God that children have short memories. I messaged the guys in the group chat and told them what I heard. She was talking to Jill because Mark told us he listened to the same part of the conversation. I was finishing cleaning up when she came downstairs, wearing the sexiest short skirt and the highest heels I've ever seen her wear. "What are we having for dinner?" I asked while the children were in their rooms. "What do you mean? I told you I'm leaving. You must take care of dinner. In fact, none of your plans were discussed with me. You ran away from here and avoided me all day. Now I see you're dressed like a $20 prostitute and you're leaving." This drove her crazy. "Fuck you. You don't have to be a jerk about it. We're just going to dance." "That's right. Dancing. With a skirt that barely covers your ass and shoes you can barely walk in. You're wearing more makeup than Gina Simmons, and you smell like a perfume store. You lashed out at your son, who was still crying because you told him to leave you alone. When I found him, and you didn't give a shit to calm him down. What happened to you? What happened to the woman I married whose dream was to become a mother? When did you become like this?" She slapped me and said, "Fuck you. You'll be lucky if I come home at all." She rushed out of the house and didn't even kiss the children goodbye. I didn't feel very good after that. Since they started at Damon's, we didn't have to worry about trying to figure out where they were going. Rick was sent pictures of what they looked like and waited in the parking lot for them to leave. They didn't do anything stupid there. At 9 odds, Rick sent Damon a photo, making sure the group of women leaving was them, and the fun was about to begin. While the kids were in the basement watching movies, Steve assigned his oldest niece to look after them. We sat huddled in his living room drinking from Steve's amazing selection of beers, waiting for updates and jumping every time a text came through. "Rick, I just need to follow them. They took 2 cars. "That's nice," Mark said. 2 cars. So if one leaves, they can still get home. I shook my head at our collective paranoia. 20 minutes later, we received another message. "Rick. And now they are dancing. Nothing beyond what is permitted. No guys yet." We all breathed a momentary sigh of relief, but the stress was starting to get to us. We all drank several glasses of beer, and we didn't drink low-alcohol Miller Lights. It was a strong craft beer with a high alcohol content. I made the decision to quit drinking. If trouble happened, someone had to be sober enough to drive. The next message came a little later. "Rick. A group of cowboys, all wearing hats and no cattle, brought drinks, lots of appreciative touches, not a single line was crossed, bye." At this point, Mark was ready to run out and intervene. "Wait, Mark, I said. We expected something like this. It's still not even as bad as we feared. Let's wait a bit before we start shooting pistols. Okay, Paul. You are right. Crap. I'm so nervous, though. We all are, Steve said. Come on, eat some pizza and calm down. The beer is starting to take effect. As we ate the rest of the cold pizza, Damon's phone rang again. Rick. I'm sending photos. Now they dance even dirtier. Our stomachs were in knots waiting for the photos to appear. They were bad. There were no photos of Robin. There were Jill, Kelly, and Maggie. Damon wrote to Rick about Robin. What about the other redhead? Rick. She doesn't slow dance. She only dances fast numbers and line dances, and she doesn't drink. Her rhinestone cowboy has moved on to greener pastures. Steve was happy, and it felt like a huge weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Steve came downstairs to check on the kids while we were stewing, growing more frustrated by the minute, fearing the worst. Damon's phone rang again. Rick. Woman argue. Looks like Robin wants to leave. Just then, Steve walked in. Hey, Robin is mad and wants me to take her, I said. Go and get her. She clearly doesn't want to be there. Don't keep her waiting. He agreed, and a moment later walked out the door. This is incredible, Damon said. They are going to leave their girlfriend so they can stay. I see. At least we know what's going on, Mark said. If Rick hadn't been there, I'd be desperate right now, worried about her going back to her wild days. 20 minutes later, we received the video. All our wives were depicted on it. I threw my beer bottle across the room as Robin and Steve walked into the kitchen. I told them I didn't want to participate in this. I can only imagine what they will do, Robin said. What do you mean? Mark asked. Jill went out for sex. Kelly and Maggie say that's not the case, but Jill encourages them to join her for some weird party in a motel room. I told them no, and they called me names. Do you fucking believe this? They called me names because I don't want to be a woman of easy virtue. I was about to get up when Robin stopped me. Paul, she said all she was going to do was dance a little. I don't think Maggie is going to cheat on you. It doesn't look like it, I snapped. Then we heard the front door close. Where is Mark? Damon asked. Damn, he was just here, I said. Damn, we better go get him, Steve said as we ran out the door. He just pulled out of the driveway like a bat out of hell. Warn Rick, I said. Let him know that trouble is coming and let him keep Mark out of jail. Will be done. We pulled into the club's parking lot and waited. Rick let us know that he grabbed Mark when he burst inside. He sent it back, and Mark cooled off in his car, waiting for us. Rick watched what was happening inside. He reported that nothing worse had happened yet, and they were just sitting and drinking. We found Mark's car, and he came out to meet us. I was really going to kick some ass there, but Rick stopped me. I believe you warned him that I was coming. Yeah, we don't need to get you out of jail, Damon said. Damon's phone rang. Rick. The girls leave in pairs. I know you're there, but let's stick to the plan. Stay in your cars. Okay, guys, get back in the car. They're getting out, Damon said. We saw women's cars 2 rows in front of us, so we got into Mark's Traverse and waited. They walked out laughing, hugging their cowboy wannabes, and Rick was behind them, recording as planned. Jill and her man got into the back seat of one SUV. Kelly and her man got into the back seat of the next car, while Maggie and her man had to find their car for their privacy. As luck would have it, while Rick was stopping Kelly and Jill, Maggie was walking towards our car. When she approached, she didn't even notice us. I rolled down the window and shouted, "Hey!" She turned in the wrong direction, looking for me. I saw the panicked look on her face as she looked around. I opened the door and the others followed me. They went to deal with theirs, and I went to mine. Well, what's going on here? I asked, furiously. What the hell do you want, Morin? Her man told me. I want to beat the crap out of you for messing with my wife. This is what I want. Hey, she said she was in the middle of a divorce. I don't get involved with married people. Too much trouble. She began to sob and leaned against the trunk of a nearby car, holding her head in her hands. Yes, it looks like she was telling you the truth. She's in the middle of a divorce right now, I said as I left. You can take her. No! She screamed and grabbed me to spin me around. She must have been very drunk because she fell, and as she sprawled on the ground, I saw that she wasn't wearing any underwear. I looked at her sobbing on the ground, pulled out my phone and took a photo. She raised her head and asked, "What are you doing?" I looked at her with all the disgust I could muster and said, "Every time you beg me to forgive you and take you back, I will look at this photo. I'm going to look at you at this moment and remember that you were going to sleep with that asshole." The asshole came up and said, "Why are you such a jerk? We didn't even do anything. Give me her underwear, you bastard." She sobbed a little more as he helped her up and then pulled her underwear out of his back pocket and handed them to me. I threw them at her and spat them on the ground. "Goodbye. Go home, change clothes, pack up your junk, and go to your parents' house. I don't want them to see you like this. If you're home in the morning, I'll send them a video of your antics tonight." "No, Paul, please." I wasn't going to do anything. He was just going to take me home. "Idiot, is this true? Lead to me, and my friend there will intervene," I said, pointing at Rick, who had just punched one of the guy's buddies. "No, we were going to get to know each other better in my car." Maggie slapped him and screamed, "You're an idiot! I never intended to have sex with you." I shook my head and walked away to see if my friends were okay. 2 cowboys ran past me as I approached. I saw 2 women arguing with their husbands. I looked at Rick and said, "Did I really miss all the fun?" He laughed and said, "It doesn't look like it," and nodded towards my wife, who was stumbling. "It would have been a funnier sight if it weren't for your soon-to-be ex-wife." Before she could say anything, 2 police cars pulled up. Luckily, the cowboys were leaving in their truck when the police arrived. "Are there problems here, guys?" asked one of the officers. I came up and said, "Some guys abused our wives. We scared them off, so now everything is fine." He looked at me a little and asked, "Dust?" "No. We were at home when my wife called us to pick them up because they had drunk too much. You know how it is with housewives when they'll get the hang of it before drinking." "Well, yes. While they were waiting, they were accosted. We got here just in time, and these idiots left as soon as we arrived. He took our IDs and did with them what cops do. Meanwhile, our wives had calmed down and were huddled next to each other by the cars, while the 4 of us stood closer to the police car. He came out and said, "Okay, get them home safe and sound." I nodded and he said, "And from the looks of them, you might want to consider keeping them on a shorter leash." He got into his car and they drove away. "Even the police think you look like women of easy virtue," Mark said as he left. He got into his SUV and drove away, leaving Jill in the parking lot. Damon said, "Ladies, I just ordered a taxi for you. Go home and sort your shit out. We won't be there tonight. Sober up, and in the morning we will deal with your betrayals." This made Kelly and Maggie cry again, but Jill had a look of hatred on her face. Damon said, "Fuck off, Jill. This shit is on you and your desire to relive your good old days. You brought your girlfriends into this shit with you, and now you have to pay the piper. Thank God Robin had the sense to leave and warn us. You just sent her home alone so you could get yours. Oh yeah, we all know about the motel party plan, bitch. So you better come up with a good excuse for it in your argument tomorrow." She cowered, and Steve went back to get his truck. When he arrived, a taxi pulled up and imported our wives. None of us responded to anything they said. All the pleading and persuasion they were capable of would not help them tonight. "I'm seriously considering divorcing her," I said. "I've seen your wives actually sit in the back seats with their asses, but mine didn't go that far." Although I'm sure her intentions weren't good, they nodded in agreement. "My main consideration, however, is the children. I can't be a part-time dad, dudes. It would kill me. They are so young that I don't know what to do. I just do not know." I woke up to the sound of children running around, like kids do when they're excited to be with friends. Robin was cooking breakfast, and from the smell, it was bacon French toast. I also smelled coffee, so I went to the kitchen to get a cup to wake up quickly. I saw that it was 6 a.m. and sighed. At least I'll have a few more hours before my wife wakes up with a hangover. I was afraid of facing this fiasco when I turned on my phone. I saw that I had 5 voicemails. 3 from her, 1 from Mark, and 1 from Dale, her father. I listened to Mark first. He was just letting me know that he went to the hotel and everything was fine. Dale let me know that my wife was safe with them. It turns out she didn't go home. She walked straight towards them. I can only imagine how that conversation went, given the state she was in. I didn't bother listening to Maggie's messages. I tried to read the texts, but they were so incoherent that I deleted them. Steve and Damon entered the kitchen a few minutes later and sat down at the counter on the bar stools. Robin spoke first. "I'm so sorry, guys. I really tried to reason with them. I said, 'Don't worry about it, Robin. You are the only smart one in this company because you left. We had a guy in the bar who was watching you all the time.'" "What?" she screamed. "You were spying on us? You idiots!" "Shut up," Steve shouted. "You dare to be upset that we are worried and that someone is watching you. What the hell do you think happened last night? We caught them leading the men to their cars, Robin." Jill and Kelly sat right in the back seat with them. She stood there in as much shock as the rest of us at Steve's outburst. Thank God the children didn't hear this. You want to stand there all modest because you think you haven't done anything wrong. Have you stopped your friends when they were lying on the floor and behaving inappropriately? I don't think so. Fuck this. The line is the hands and lips on them of men who are not their husbands. Steve, Shut up. What do you think about your little plan to ambush us? And then you're shocked that we don't want you to go out alone? Last night went exactly as we feared. Marriages are in trouble, Robin. Ours, including for your support of how they acted. Did you really think that we wouldn't find out that something happened when you all fought over going to Damon's where you would be safe? I'm just wondering what your intentions really were last night, and if you chickened out when you heard their plan. Sobbing, she said. Steve, no, please. You have to believe me. I don't believe anything you say right now. I'm leaving. Steve stood up and left us all sitting there while Robin ran to her bedroom, leaving Damon and I sitting there with our mouths open in shock. God. I didn't see that coming, Damon said. I shrugged and said, let's finish preparing breakfast for the children and hit the road. I have a place for Mark's daughter. I'll take her to his hotel where he stayed last night. Fine. We finished preparing breakfast. Robin pulled herself together and returned to help. When we were leaving, I asked her, "Are you going to be okay?" She said quietly, hugging me, "I hope so. I really hope so." Mark didn't answer when I called to meet him to drop off his daughter, so I drove to his house. I left him a message asking him to meet me there. Jill opened the door and shouted, "What the hell do you want, idiot?" Little Sammy started crying behind me, so I picked her up, turned around, and walked back to my car. Jill came out screaming for me to give her the baby and started hitting me in the back. A neighbor saw what was happening and called the police. They arrived while she was still trying to get Sammy out of my car. It made my kids cry, so it was very ugly. The police told her to move away, and she started screaming at them that I had kidnapped her child. Naturally, they took this seriously. One officer took Jill to the other side of my car to get her story, while the other officer stayed with me. I told him the whole story from last night, right up until she yelled at me at the door. I explained that I was taking Sammy home, but Jill was unable to pick her up. A few minutes later, Mark pulled into the driveway. He came up to me and the officer and asked what was going on. After I filled him in, the officer confirmed his identity and he confirmed my story about the previous night. He then listened to my voicemail, telling him that I was going to take Sammy home and meet him there. The officer finally relaxed and was convinced that I was no danger to anyone, so he allowed Mark to take Sammy, despite the objections of a screaming Jill. Jill looked like a banshee. She banged on his car as he drove away, picked up a brick from their landscaping and threw it at the car as it drove away. Because of this, she was arrested. Wisely, Mark went to the police station to obtain a restraining order. The arrest report and Jill's tirades made it easier. I drove home to see if Maggie had made it home or if she was still with her dad. I figured she was still sleeping it off because my phone never rang. I got the kids inside and in front of the TV with some snacks, while I went into the kitchen to call Dale. "Oh my God, Paul, what happened last night? Maggie showed up here half to death drunk and dressed like a prostitute. She said you kicked her out and she didn't even do anything. She passed out before I could get anything else out of her, and she's still asleep. We are terribly worried. Dale, she and her idiotic friends went dancing in those outfits. Let's just say I caught her walking to the car with another man without underwear. Oh my God. Yeah, well, she's right that it never went too far, but that's only because I stopped it. She was going to do some irrational things in this guy's car. I'm really sorry, Paul. What will happen now? I don't know, Dale. Can I forgive her for the fact that she intended to cheat on me, and only thanks to my intervention this did not happen? Paul, you know I love you, but she is my child. I'd like to see you try to forgive her. At least think about it for the sake of the children. Dale, you don't even know half the problem with what she did last night. Even the events leading up to this show that she planned this and did not respect our marriage or our family. I need some time to think about this. You're right about the kids, though. This is the main thing for me. Would you mind if I stopped by so you could help me pick up her car from the club she was at? Of course, son. Come in. Kathy, I would like to see your grandchildren if you want to keep them. Sounds like a plan. As we drove to the club, I told Dale the whole story. He was rightly shocked, but still asked me to forgive her. Just as we were pulling into the parking lot, my phone rang. It was Maggie. I ignored it, and Dale frowned. You can't hide from her, son. You have these two babies, and you need to talk about it. You just can't let this fester. I know I'm going to go home and wait for her. Will you and Katie stay with the kids while we talk? Certainly. Please listen to her. Perhaps you could talk to a priest or counselor to help you get through this. Of course, Dale, but only one step at a time. I sent my wife a message asking her to meet me at home at 1 o'clock, and she would answer 4 questions honestly to start a dialogue. 1. Did she have a plan to find a man for sex that evening? 2. Did they plan to go to a motel? 3. Why did she give him her underwear? 4. What was her plan of action in his car? I already knew the answer to some. For the rest, I already received lies from her that night. I could tell if she was lying to me. Her right eye twitches slightly, almost imperceptibly, when she lies. I always managed to catch her, even in a small lie. That was probably why she didn't want to talk about her plans before they left. She knows that I know about her nervous tics. Maggie's parents, Dale and Katie, had a fairy tale marriage. They were high school sweethearts who got married shortly after graduating from high school. When Maggie introduced me to her parents, I was amazed at how her parents behaved. They were always touching each other. They always sat next to each other, and if there was only one seat, Dale would stand as close as possible to where Katie was sitting. When I asked for his blessing to marry Maggie, we had a long conversation about how to maintain a happy marriage in the long run and once the newness wears off. He explained, Paul, marriage is never a straight or smooth path. You can drive for miles without turning or potholes, but eventually you'll hit one. The key is to make sure your car can handle it when that time comes. The equipment requires maintenance. If you let small problems slide or don't do regular tune-ups and oil changes, your car won't last long. If the road is your marriage, then your car is your relationship. You have to work at it all the time. This doesn't mean not forgetting anniversaries and birthdays. It's just part of the deal. It means making time for yourself to be together. Be gentle. Be caring. Do the little things that you might not want to do because they're little things and they don't matter when it comes down to it anyway. If your relationship is maintained properly, you will have a long, fulfilling marriage. I relived this conversation and some of the many others we have had over the past few years. I thought we had a love like theirs. We're not that touchy-feely, but we do take the time to make sure that our marriage is maintained, so to speak. I have always been confident in the stability of our marriage and, of course, confident in her fidelity. Until that night, it never occurred to me that she could ever betray our marriage. Did I miss the warning signs? Have I not done the little things I should have done to keep my marriage healthy? This would require some thought. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, she returned home and entered the living room looking terrible. She must have just finished crying because her eyes were still red and puffy. Paul, Go get yourself in order. I don't want to look at you in these clothes, I snapped. There was really no reason to force her to change her clothes. Was it really because I didn't want her to look like that? Or did I just want more time to think? I looked at the TV again and realized that I was watching the DVD that the kids always watched. I shook my head when I realized how lost in my thoughts I was if I watched Frozen 2 and didn't realize it. She came down half an hour later, freshly showered and wearing yoga pants and a t-shirt. She knew I loved her ass in those pants because they had led to several bouts of adult fun lately. I was half sure that she wasn't just dressed for comfort. She wanted me to think of her sexually. It didn't work. "Paul, dear, Wait," I said. "I asked that you have answers to 4 questions ready before we talk. Can you answer them?" "Yes." "So what?" She sighed and said, "I swear to God, I never went out with the intention of sleeping with anyone." I didn't answer as she looked at me, waiting for me to continue. I peered into her eyes for a twitch, but was momentarily distracted by the slight flirtatious movement of her hair and the way she bit her lip. Damn, I loved her. She makes my life difficult, and I don't think it was even on purpose. Since there are no children in the house, I should have already bent her over the sofa. But he allowed her to continue. "I never intended to go to a motel with Jill. It was her idea. I swear I didn't mean to sleep with this guy. I was just going to walk this guy to his car and then Uber and home. I'm sorry I lied about it last night. I don't know why I said he would give me a ride. I think I just panicked." Again she waited, and again I said nothing. "Yes, I gave him my underwear. I was drunk, and they all egged me on to do it. I went to the toilet alone and took them off. I didn't let him do it, and I didn't do it at the table. I swear he never touched me down there. I knew it was true because Rick was watching her and would have seen it happen. I was still angry that she did this. Paul, I swear to God, I didn't mean to get into his car. God, I wish you'd wait to see this before you go out. I know you don't believe me, but it's true. I was going to kiss him goodnight, and I know that's bad enough, but I wasn't going to get in his car. Give me your phone." "For what?" "Do it." "Great. Here." I opened her last calls. I saw the calls to all the other girls and thought they needed to clear up their story. Then I saw Simon's phone number. "Who is Simon?" I asked. Her eye twitched, but she didn't respond. "Who is Simon, Maggie?" "The guy from the bar. Why do you have his number in your phone?" "I didn't do this. He must have inserted it while I was on the toilet." "Yes, of course," I thought. "There's one thing I can't get out of my head. You told him you were in the process of getting a divorce. Explain this." "We wanted them to buy us drinks. We didn't think they would buy it if we told them we were married." "Should I buy you a drink? Are you suddenly so broke that you can't spend your own money on booze?" "The bank is full of money." "I'm sorry, I do not know what else to say. We were stupid, I understand. I screwed up, but I never intended to cheat on you." "Well, all the evidence points to the contrary. You hid your plans, your appearance. You slapped me and told me I'd be lucky if you ever came home. You told him you were getting a divorce. Jill was trying to throw a party at the motel, and you were heading to his car without any underwear. Your girlfriends sat right in the back seat with their boyfriends. Every bit of it shows me that you planned to deceive me." She cried and ran out of the room. My anger had already subsided and I was quite calm. I didn't see any signs that she was lying to me. I just couldn't figure out if it was her actions or her obvious intentions that mattered. I stopped what was actually going to happen, so I had no way of knowing whether he could have gotten her into his car or not. In her drunken state, they were able to persuade her to take off and give her underwear. What else could they persuade her to do? Her behavior was a complete shock to me. She had never acted slutty before. Sure, she got a little more horny in bed after a few glasses of wine, but nothing like what she did that night. I was completely at a loss, not knowing what to do next. Within 24 hours, starting from a dispute in the house Damon, she was a completely different person. I left the house without checking on her and Khalid Mark. He returned to his home with his daughter after getting a restraining order against Jill. He invited me to talk about our problems, and I agreed. Misery loves company and all that, right? I stopped to grab a couple of packs of beer and headed towards him. It will be a difficult day. When he opened the door, I realized that he was upset. He was always cheerful and smiling, but now he looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Sammy went to take a nap. "Let's go to the living room," he said. He was carrying a wireless baby monitor, and I could hear soft music playing in her room. "Have you spoken to Maggie?" he asked. "Yes. She claimed she had no intention of getting into that asshole's car, but I'm not sure I believe her. Hell, even if I believe her, I can't say he couldn't talk her into it. I really have no idea what I'm going to do yet. What happened to Jill? He told me about her arrest and restraining order, and that he had an appointment with his lawyer on Tuesday. So this is really a scam?" I asked. "Yes. Here, look at this. These texts helped obtain a restraining order." He handed me his phone and showed me the string of messages Jill had sent him after she left the club. "Oh my God," I said, continuing to scroll. Most of them were her insults, and one of them was that she threatened him to take Sammy and leave him. But the last one, sent at 1 a.m., read, "Get a DNA test, asshole." I looked at him. He was sad and shook his head. "She left her phone here this morning," he continued. "There are a ton of messages from a couple of other guys exchanging shit. So, yeah, we're done." I sent screenshots of them to my email before she returned with a police escort to collect some of her clothes and belongings. As far as I'm concerned, she could rot in hell. Although I hope I can get custody of Sammy, I really think Jill is mentally unstable. She certainly seemed like that when she beat me this morning. Sorry about that. I was getting out of the shower when you called. I thought that we would arrive here at the same time, so I didn't call you back. I left as soon as I saw your message. It's okay, brother. What are you going to do, Paul? My main priority is children. I don't want to be a part-time dad. At least you have a chance to get custody. I don't have anything like that. I guess I have to try to decide if I can survive what she did or not. As much as I want to stay with my kids, I don't want to live with her as roommates either. Damn, Jill did this to everyone else. I'm sure of it. She was the driving force behind this entire night's walk. Maybe you should lean toward forgiveness. She never cheated. I know. I just don't want to act like a wimp and let her think she can get away with this crap. What will happen next time I'm not there? This sucks, dude. Yeah, it sucks. Just then, Sammy woke up, and that ended the discussion of our problems for a while. However, this did not stop me from drinking. Mark stopped after a couple of minutes, but for what reason did I have to stop? After God knows how many more beers, Mark drove me home. Maggie's car was in the driveway when we pulled up. I frowned at the thought of dealing with her again as I stumbled out of the car. I said goodbye to Mark when Sammy giggled and called me a stupid chatterbox. I walked through the front door and smelled something cooking. I closed the door and went up to my bedroom, wanting to avoid Maggie. I guess I wasn't calm enough because she was sitting on the bed when I came out of the bathroom. What will happen to us, Paul? I'm so sorry about all of this. I looked at her but could not answer her. I said, I don't know, but I think you should stay with your parents until we figure this out. She cried and said, Do you not love me anymore? If I didn't love you, your ass would be on the sidelines by now. Listen, I'm going to take a few days off. I will take the children from your parents and take care of them here. I need some more time to think about this. Get them some clothes and let them spend the night with you. I'm not able to. Will you have dinner with me? I made you beef stroganoff. Cooking my favorite dinner won't fix us. I know. I just wanted to do something nice for you. I love you so much, Paul. It kills me that I caused such damage to our marriage. You have to believe me. I never intended to cheat on you. I think it's time for you to go. I will pick up the children from kindergarten tomorrow if you drop them off there. Okay, she said, crying. I love you so much. Please let me come home soon. She tried to hug me, and I backed away. She turned and left the room as I stood there, wondering if I should just let her stay, but I didn't stop her. I woke up the next morning, which was Monday, and decided that I would make a decision by Wednesday one way or another. I decided that a long delay would not help. After speaking with my boss, I was given a week off. He had been pestering me for a while about taking up my reserved vacation time, so he was fine. I made an appointment with a lawyer this coming Wednesday to see what I would have to deal with if I went the divorce route. I hoped it wasn't as bad as my internet research looked. I also sent a group message to the guys to see if anyone had done the same thing as me by taking some time off. It turned out that all the guys had at least taken the day off, so I suggested that we all get together. Steve had Robin at his house, so we all decided to meet there. Robin could look after any children who weren't in daycare or with their mother. Steve and Robin made up when he calmed down. I was glad about that because we knew she didn't act like the other wives that night. I didn't think she should be punished as much as the others. Damon asked Kelly to stay with her parents for a few days, and she agreed. At that time, he also had not yet made any decisions. Mark was still moving forward with his divorce plan. The complete disrespect that Jill showed him was too much to overcome. Nobody blamed him for this decision. He had evidence of her infidelity from her phone. As we sat at the kitchen table talking, Damon and Stevie agreed with Mark that I should try to make things work with Maggie. They all felt that she had not done anything yet, but it was unclear whether she would have done so or not. If I were honest with myself, I would realize that I'm already leaning in that direction. I still plan to meet with a lawyer, if only to be thorough. Damon had another problem. Kelly was in the back seat with her boyfriend, and there's no excuse for that. Even if she didn't sleep with him, something was bound to happen. Damon was just as unsure of what to do as I was. If we didn't have children, our wives would already be on the street with Jill. We just couldn't make such a quick, emotional decision like that. Families were at stake. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the consequences of divorce would be too severe. Wives might have to get jobs, their alimony and child support payments would be huge, and we'd have extra rent to pay for housing, and wives would almost certainly get primary custody. As bad as I felt about it, Damon felt even worse because Kelly went one step further than Maggie. I regretted stopping her that night. I wish I had let her complete all the actions she was going to take with this guy. I would at least have a better idea of her intentions, but what man wouldn't stop his wife in such a situation? I picked up the kids from daycare and they were usually talkative. This improved my mood as the day wore on and I thought less about Maggie. Around dinner time, Dale called and after some small talk asked, "Paul, how about we bring over a couple of pizzas and see if we can help you come to a decision? Dale, you and Katie can come, but I'm not going to see or talk to Maggie today." "Paul, you can't hide from her." "I am not hiding. I just need time to think about my options and what I'm going to do. If you want to come and take her side, I have no problem talking to you. Not with Maggie." "Okay, Paul. See you in an hour." If I didn't like her parents so much, I would tell him to fuck off. Since I was already leaning towards giving her a second chance, I decided to talk to them. It won't hurt anything. We ate pizza and talked with the kids until bedtime. It was a difficult conversation to have to explain to them why their mom wasn't home to put them to bed. Katie's presence helped, and I was grateful for that. After the children had settled down and had their stories read to them, it was time for some serious conversation. Kathy started by saying, "Paul, where are you now? Is there a chance for you two to stay together?" "There's always a chance. My problem is balancing her intentions with what I know and have seen. She claims nothing should have happened to this guy, but she told him she was in the process of getting a divorce." Katie gasped. "She said it was so he could buy her a drink. We do not suffer due to lack of money. There is no need for men to buy her drinks. She also gave him her underwear, and yes, she followed him to his car, drunk and without underwear." "Oh my God!" her mother whispered in horror. Dale lowered his head. I told Dale the whole story before, and I guess he didn't tell her that. I don't blame him. It was enough that he knew what happened. "Paul, I don't know what to say to this," she said, barely audibly. "I know. This sucks. She said it was because she dared to do it and was too drunk to make the right decision. Who dares ask to take off his underwear in a bar unless he's trying to get into her pants? And who gives it to him if she wasn't going to let him sleep with him? A wife and mother should not behave like this. What the hell am I supposed to do knowing all this?" On top of that, it had been planned in advance for what it would be like for the night, at least for her friend Jill, and maybe for all of them. We asked them to go to Damon's bar so we knew they would be safe. They said no, and that they didn't want us to spy on them. Does this look like it's going to be an innocent night? Not for me. That's why we followed them. Thank God you did it, Dale added. Well, yes, Mark and Jill are getting divorced. Damon and Kelly probably too. That would definitely be the case if Damon didn't have kids to think about. The only safe couple out of all of us is Stevie and Robin, and that's because she left when they started crossing boundaries. Their marriage was even in limbo because Stevie hated that Robin didn't try to stop their promiscuous behavior. What about a consultation? Dale asked. Oh, that has to happen at the very least if I decide to give her a chance. There is no doubt about it. What made her make this terrible decision to go out with her friends, knowing that Jill was fully planning on picking up men? She should have been the voice of reason and stopped it, not continued to encourage it. They nodded in agreement. I noticed that they, too, were holding hands so tightly, as if they were afraid to let go. God, I wish Maggie loved me so much. Dale asked. What's next, Paul? I'm meeting with a lawyer on Wednesday. I gave myself a timeline to make a decision after this meeting. We really hope it doesn't come to that, son. We hate to see our family torn apart over this. Don't forget that we are collateral damage in your decision. We love you like a son. I know. I love you too. I'm sorry you have to go through this. There was really nothing left to say after that. They said goodbye, and I headed for the bottle of whiskey. On Tuesday evening, there was a knock on my door. Dale delivered me a letter written by Maggie. I don't know why she felt she had to write me a letter. I would answer her call. I just didn't want to be around her. The letter didn't say anything that she hadn't already said. I felt like she just wanted to tell me that she loved me over and over again, as if somehow it would be more believable in writing. I met with a lawyer just to see how bad it would be for me if we got divorced. No evidence of adultery, stay at home, mom, child support, joint custody, and if the kids went to college, I would have been on the hook for child support for 17 years. The guy actually looked me in the eyes and said, "Find a way to get past this." Nothing really happened, and it's cheaper to keep her. I decided that I would ask her to come home. I had no idea what was going to happen or how it was supposed to work, but I knew that if we could be fixed, it wouldn't have happened if we lived apart. I wrote to her. Now you can return home, but you must answer one question. How can I trust you again? I hoped she could tell me because I couldn't figure out how I could trust her in the future. I knew that we would have no future if there was no trust. When I put the kids to bed, I still had no answer. The kids were very upset that she was still not home, and I didn't have a convincing answer to tell them why. I read them a story, but they cried until they fell asleep. I was getting angrier by the minute, so I called her parents' landline. I have not received a reply. I called her cell phone, but no one answered. I called Dale's cell phone, but no one answered. I called all 3 numbers and sent SMS every 15 minutes for an hour. It was almost 10 o'clock, and I began to worry. I called Robin and asked her to come watch the kids so I could drive over and see what was going on in their house. I was shocked because someone should have answered one of the phones at this time of night. Robin pulled into my driveway, and I met her at the door. Anything else, Paul? No, thank you for coming so quickly. I'll let you know what happened as soon as possible. The drive home took only 10 minutes, and it was quiet. I saw Maggie's car in the driveway, so I rang the bell, but no one answered. I used our key to their house and entered myself. I didn't see anything of note anywhere, and Dale's car was gone. I looked around some more and still didn't find anything. I called Dale's cell phone again and heard it ringing in their bedroom. Wherever they went, he left his phone. You, Kathy. I had a cell phone, but I didn't know its number. I never needed it. They were always together and always called me from their landline, if they called me. We no longer had a landline. We always used our mobile phones. I took Dale's cell phone, and luckily it was unlocked. I scrolled through and found Katie's cell number. I heard it ring in the kitchen when it rang and found it in her purse. Where could they be in such a hurry that they didn't grab their cell phones and her purse? I called Maggie's phone again and heard it ringing in the other bedroom. Crap, I said out loud. What the hell is going on? I had to go to the toilet, and there I saw this on the sink. It was an empty bottle of sleeping pills. I thought the worst and fell to my knees in tears. Why didn't they call me? I thought, gathering my courage, and ran to my car. There was a hospital just a couple miles away, so I drove like a bat out of hell and left my car running in the emergency room drop-off lane. I ran in and told the lady behind the counter all 3 names I needed to look up, hoping they weren't there. They had Maggie, but she was in the emergency room, and they didn't give me any conditions. I silently prayed that she would be alive, and luckily they let me in. I hurried through the maze of corridors, trying to find her room. I found Maggie in bed, hooked up to machines, and bought nothing. Say, neither Katie was there. I took the arm that wasn't connected to the IV and started crying. A few minutes later, the nurse came in. Are you related to her? She is my wife. Will she be okay? Yes. She had her stomach pumped out. She will sleep a little, but now all her functions are normal. They got her here on time. God bless. I'm glad they found you. Her parents were furious about this once things calmed down and they realized they hadn't called you and they didn't have their cell phones. Soon she will be transferred to a ward where she will be kept overnight. You need to fill out several forms, insurance and all that. Fine, thank you. Just then my phone rang. It was Robin. Paul, she's in the emergency room. You must... I'm here, Robin. I'm with her. How do you know? Dale says he couldn't call you. I found an empty pill bottle and their phones in the house and feared the worst. I rushed here. Paul, this is Dale. I'm here with her, Dale. Sorry, son. When we found her, we rushed to her in a panic and forgot our phones. All our numbers are written in these damn things. We don't even try to remember them anymore. We couldn't figure out how to contact you. Katie was in a bad way and panicking, so I couldn't leave her until they told us Maggie would be okay. As soon as Kathy calmed down, I rushed here to pick you up. Katie is not in the room. I'm not sure where she is now. She was going to the chapel. I'm already on my way back. See you soon. Floor? Robin said, returning to the line. Robin, can you stay a little? Certainly. I'll stay the night. Don't worry about anything here. Thank you. I owe you. Forget it. Keep me informed. I will do so. Thank you. Maggie wasn't going to wake up for a while, and it wouldn't be long before she was moved to another room, so I went to check on Katie. I still needed some answers and wanted to make sure she was okay. I found her in the chapel praying. She saw me and rushed into my arms. Oh, Paul, I was so scared that she took the pills. Why? What's happened? We do not know. She was in her room all day. Sometime after dinner, I went to invite her to tea, as we do every evening, but she was lying slumped on the bed. She barely woke up, but said something about a stupid mistake and pills. It didn't take long to realize what she had done. Dale carried her to the car, and we brought her here. We didn't think about taking our phones. I didn't even grab my purse. Yes, I saw it. I came to your house when no one answered my messages. I couldn't understand why she didn't call me after I told her to come home. Did you tell her to come home? Yes. We still have a lot to talk about, but being apart won't help that. Then why would she do this? It does not make sense. She wanted to come home to you so badly. Well, we'll have to wait until she tells us everything herself. Let's go. She will soon be transferred to another ward, and Dale is already returning. Maggie and I were with him when Dale returned. Katie fell asleep. Are there any changes? He asked. No, we're just waiting. Fine. Oh, here are your keys. I saw your car in the oncoming lane. I parked it for you. Thank you. I forgot I left it there. Someone must have turned it off for you. It didn't work. You're lucky it wasn't stolen. I actually didn't think about it at the time. Mister forgot his phone at home. Yes, but we are old. We have an excuse. They settled Maggie in the room and told us to go home and get some sleep. There was nothing we could do, and no one knew when she would wake up. I filled out all the insurance information, signed the required forms, and headed home. After I told Robin about Maggie's condition, she asked me why she did it. I don't know, I said. I asked her to come home and... Holy crap! What? Asked Robin. I told her to come home, but she had to tell me how I could trust her again. Damn, I bet she got that wrong. I meant it to be an opener for conversation, not closing the door if she couldn't think of an answer. Damn, it's my fault. No, stop that. It is not your fault. She has created a terrible situation for herself and has been in a deplorable state for several days now. It was her choice. You must be strong now so that you can restore her. She will need you now more than ever. You must think correctly. Your children need it to be healthy. Fine. It's just not what we needed right now. I can't fix my marriage if I have to fix her first. You and all the other girls that were at the party, what do you think about this shit now? We know we were stupid. I'm so sorry you're going through this. She hugged me and left. I took the children to kindergarten and went to the hospital. I walked in half an hour before the reception started. Nobody stopped me, so I'm not sure if it was normal or not. I did not care. She was sleeping when I entered her room. I saw that the tray of food was sitting there untouched. I remember this was one of the things I filled out the night before, the breakfast selection. I decided that she had not woken up yet, and I was glad of that. I wanted her to see me there when she woke up. I hoped that it would improve her state of mind and at least clarify something if she knew that I was next to her. I took her hand, leaned over and kissed her forehead. She stirred but didn't wake up, so I pulled a large chair closer and sat down. I held her left hand with my right and looked at the news on my phone. Dale and Katie walked in right at the beginning of visiting hours. They smiled when they saw me, and Katie asked, "She woke up?" "I don't think so. I haven't seen the nurse yet, and her breakfast hasn't been eaten, but that doesn't mean anything." As children? I didn't tell them anything. They just went to kindergarten as if it were a normal day. "Okay, no need to upset them," Dale agreed. We didn't talk about anything for a few minutes before I said, "When she is released, I will take her home with me. It will be best that way. She needs her stability back. She needs her family, her children. She's clearly lost without you," Katie said. "I just don't understand why," Dale said. "You told her to come home. Why did she do this?" "He told me to come home if I could tell him how to trust me again," said Maggie, who was awake at that moment. I squeezed her hand and looked at her with tears in my eyes. "Has gone," and Dale jumped up and walked to the other side of the bed. "Darling, but what made you do this?" Dale asked. "I tried all day, all dinner and after. I couldn't figure out how to show him that he could trust me. I just couldn't stand it. If I can't get back to him, I won't be able to live without him. I never meant this as a condition of your return. I meant it as something we had to work on together first. Baby, what you did hurts more than what caused our problems in the first place. Your children need you. I need you. I cannot lose you," I said, and kissed her on the cheek. She cried and said, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I did this to us. I love you so much. Please forgive me." The nurse came in and put an end to further discussion. The nurse did what nurses do and said, "If your blood test is okay and the doctors don't think you'll try it again, you'll probably get out of here later today. You are a very happy woman." "More than you think," she replied. The conversation was casual for the rest of the morning, and I left her for a couple of hours when I needed to pick up the kids. Her parents and I decided that I would bring the children to visit her. We decided that she could use all the positivity we could muster for her. While I was waiting for the elevator, the doors opened and Jill and Kelly stood there. Robin must have told them what happened. Jill saw the expression on my face and held out her hands. "We just want to visit her." "We don't want any problems." "You caused this. This is a direct result of your night out, bitch. If you don't get out of here now, I'll call the police and tell them you're following us. I'm sure this will look great at your upcoming court date when you try to get custody of your daughter." "You're an asshole. This restraining order is bullshit, and you know it. What I know is that you are not the woman you say you are. You are a monster for threatening Mark. I saw your messages. You disgust me. If I ever see you around my wife again, I will do everything in my power to hurt your chances in court." She looked like she was ready to strike when Kelly grabbed her arm and pulled her away. "You don't need this now," she said. "I told you this was a bad idea." Burn in hell. Paul, Jill said as they walked out into the stairwell, you better hope I don't see you there. I couldn't believe that she would show up here as if nothing had happened. I picked up the kids, drove home, and then took them to the hospital. I saw her parents in the waiting room, and they said she was seeing the doctor, so we had to wait. We all assumed it was a mental health assessment. I told the children that Mom was sick, but I didn't elaborate, and they didn't ask. We decided that we would say that she had a lot of stomach pain if they asked. It's stupid, but we hoped they'd buy it. At 5 and 4 years old, who knew what they would ask and what they would believe? A doctor came up to us and asked to talk to me privately. We entered a small office room and he asked me pointedly, "Are you taking her back? She told me about your problems. I am concerned that she is not strong enough to handle this if you send her away or abandon her again. Right now, my plan is the same as before. Bring her home. We can't fix our marriage if she's not home." He nodded in agreement. This situation is of utmost importance, isn't it? We need to get it in order before we do it right, don't we? Yes, up to a certain point, he replied. You should be together. If you convince her that your marriage is okay and then it doesn't work out, her depression may get worse. I encourage her to start seeing a therapist on her own, and I strongly encourage you to see one together. You don't need to prioritize one over the other, especially since your family problems are at the core of her personal problems. Can she come home? Yes. I want to discharge him today. She will have a prescription for some antidepressants and a referral to a GP. I suggest watching a couple of films together. This will make it easier for her and your joint treatment. Fine. Thank you. We brought her home and surprised her with a large welcome home banner that the kids and I made before heading to the hospital. Dale and Katie arrived a short time later and brought all her things home. We ate dinner with 2 very excited kids, happy to have their mom home. She had been gone for less than a week, but it seemed like an eternity. Once the kids had gone to bed and her parents had left, I was cleaning up the kitchen when she came up and hugged me from behind. I didn't hear her cry, but my shirt was wet from her tears. I love you so much, Paul. Please tell me that you still love me. I turned and pulled her into my arms. I said, I never stopped loving you. I just can't come to terms with what you did to me, to our marriage. You didn't behave like a wife, and everything was planned in advance. You knew what Jill was going to do, and you supported it. You should have stopped her, not joined her. Paul, you have to believe me. I never intended to cheat on you. I never intended to break our vows. I backed away and said, do you see? This is where your problem lies. You didn't see what you were doing until the moment when I stopped you. You didn't see it's like treason and a violation of our vows. Where was your respect for me when you avoided me all Saturday afternoon so we couldn't talk? Where was your respect for me when you slapped me and hinted that you would not come home and be with a man for what I said to you because of your clothes? Where was your honor to me when you were groped and kissed on the dance floor by the man you told we were getting a divorce? Where was your love for me when you walked out to his car drunk, out of your mind? She sobbed, but didn't say anything. We have a fundamental difference of opinion about how a wife should behave, not to mention the mother of 2 small children. Sorry, I admit that I did not behave like a good wife and mother. I let Jill get me excited about going out and hanging out for the night. She even helped me choose a dress. Yes, that's understandable. Did you know that Jill cheated on Mark? I had suspicions. She confirmed this that evening at the bar. You know she went crazy because of Mark. He had to get a restraining order. I talked to all the girls. I am aware of their affairs. However, this restraining order is bullshit. She poses no danger to them. You know that. No, you're wrong. I was there when she started screaming at me like a banshee when all I was doing was dropping Sammy off. She attacked me. I saw her attack Mark's car and throw a brick at it. I was there when she was arrested. I didn't know. Yes. Did you know that she sent him abusive messages and threats? She is a monster who needs help. I had no idea. Sorry, she said it like he was hurting her. No, this divorce will be very unpleasant. I hope this will be enough to eliminate her influence from your life. She was the cause of all our problems. I didn't even let her see you at the hospital. I know, she called me. By the way, I appreciate it. I didn't want to see her. Believe it or not, I'm upset with her and I don't want to be around her. I can't believe she talked Kelly into going to the motel with them. Oh, this is new information. She sighed and said, I'm not going to lie to anyone. They were going to warm up their guys. Then they were going to rent a room. That's why I wasn't in Jill's SUV with my boyfriend. I wasn't going to do all this, and I certainly wasn't going to a motel. You know, I have to tell Damon. I know she won't admit to anything, and they're on thin ice. I'm afraid their marriage won't survive. We'll see, but it depends on them. We have our own problems to deal with. I was in the bedroom getting ready for bed when she came into the room. Paul, we can sleep together, right? Yes, you can sleep in our bed, although I'm not sure I'm ready for sex. Okay, I just want to be close to you. I missed you so much. I nodded and we lay down to sleep. In the morning, I woke up from her caresses, but then my mind was filled with thoughts of that night, and I sat up. She pushed me down and said, Let me do this for you. Let me show you how much I love you. I sighed and pulled her into my arms. I love you. I know you love me. You just put yourself before your family and didn't act like you loved me. We still have a lot of work to do. It took several months of sometimes tearful consultations to get back to where we were before, but we did it. I don't see her ever planning on doing anything like that again. If she was going to end her life thinking she lost me the first time, I can't imagine it happening again. Her individual therapy sessions showed her that she was overly reliant on Jill and her influence over her. She has since given up on Jill completely and feels good about it. Mark and Jill divorced. She lost primary custody but was granted free visitation. In fact, her parents forced her to undergo therapy. When Mark told them the whole story of what she did to destroy her family, her rich dad threatened to abandon her. I hope she can get better. Damon and Kelly survived it. Damon couldn't be separated from his little girls. I don't think he's happy, but he puts on a good face and keeps Kelly on a tight leash. She also cut off all contact with Jill. After months of begging Damon, I stopped complaining about Kelly and Maggie being friends. I feel bad for Damon, and I can't help but think he'll leave as soon as the girls are old enough. Steve and Robin also stayed together. Of course, this was the easier route since she didn't do anything with other guys. She refuses to go out without Steve, and I feel like that's a little over the top, but that's their marriage. The ladies still have their own club, and they invited another housewife, Hannah Davis, who was new to the area. She fits in well with the wives, but her husband Ryan doesn't play golf, smoke cigars, or drink craft beer. But we are working on it. He's a bloody great darts player and fits in perfectly with our team. Life goes on. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.